Have we all caught up with The Rehearsal? Season 2 is better than Season 1, and Season 1 was fabulous. Season 2, I mean, I have never before seen a show where every episode of the season ends in a dead end. Total dead end, and they have to start from scratch for the next episode. Like, complete, like, let's build to this thing, and it will lead to a thing that will build to the next episode. And instead, it's like, we'll build to this thing, here's a brick wall, here are the credits. Hope you tune in next week. Like, it's crazy. It's the opposite of how television has ever been made before. And and that's one of the many things that makes it insanely compelling. So he's done a bunch of stuff inside this show, within the show. And he did it last year or last season, too, with The Rehearsal, where it's kind of like a blend of multiple shows that exist inside this one show to the point where you don't even know what you're watching anymore. But we were talking a couple weeks ago about the premise of this show, which is he's realized that a lot of plane crashes he believes happen because the pilot and the co-pilot don't communicate well. And so he's on a mission to raise awareness for this and to figure out ways in which pilots and co-pilots can communicate better. And every episode, he's created this whole other thing where the bystanders that are involved in this show are going to think like, oh, I'm part of this show that he's doing. And they have no idea that it's all just for a 5-minute bit on this other show. Like the effort and the detail and the money that is put in to what is ultimately going to be 3 to 5 minutes of one episode is nuts. And he's come into some controversy with it. Somebody broke their NDA because one of the things that's on the show is he created a singing competition, Wings of Voice. So Wings of Voice is a singing competition that is judged by co-pilots. And the reason that it's judged by co-pilots is because he wants co-pilots to get more comfortable with giving their pilots bad news. So if he can get these co-pilots to be a judge on a singing competition reality show, and they can tell people whose dream it is to be a singer that they can't go on to the next round, that they will become more comfortable giving bad news. And the pickle that he gets into, which he explains on the show as you're watching the show, is that, like, he also has to have winners then. So he has to promise that there is a prize and all this stuff when he doesn't want to do it. And so at one point on one of the newer episodes, he fully acknowledges that because he realizes something, he no longer really has a purpose for the Wings of Voice show. But he kind of just has to do something with it. So he does a medley with all the people who advanced onto the round. But this person decided, and I guess everybody signs NDAs, which means they have to pay everybody as well. But this person, Lana Love, has decided to break her NDA and gave a whole backstory behind all of this. She says that Nathan Fielder created a fake singing competition for The Rehearsal, and one contestant lost $10,000 and feels betrayed. Quote, I signed up to be a singer, not a lab rat. Which, you know, when you're watching, you go, there are human beings here that, like, it's almost the delusional nature with which they're chasing their dream makes them vulnerable to stuff like this. And on one end, it's a good lesson to not be delusional, but on the other end, you do feel for the people that are being subjected to this thing that is ultimately hilarious. Especially because the prank is not on them. Like, they're not the butt of the joke, but they're so unnecessary to what's actually going on that they build in their head this, like, I'm going to be the star of this show, when in reality, like I said, they're a couple minutes on a scene.
And they're actually crying.
They're crying because, like, and I didn't even know this culture was even still around, but I guess the dreams don't go away. Like, I don't remember the last time a star was made off of a singing competition television show. Like, it's not even a thing. It just becomes, you go on the show. Like maybe Adam Lambert, because he started touring with Queen.
I'm sure some of, like, the even lower level people you haven't heard of, I'm sure they were able to sort of turn it into something.
Maybe. What, they get a job at Universal Studios singing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But it's still this, like, this thing that we saw when American Idol first started is still like permeating. And Nathan said that he used to be a producer on Canadian Idol, and he gets people to sign up. So this lady, Lana, she said she flew from her home in New York to Los Angeles 3 times on her own dime. Which, I mean,
it's weeks and weeks and weeks.
At a point, you're going, this is the risk that you're taking. You can't sit there. If Nathan is going, or his production crew is going, hey, if you want to fly in, you can, and you're doing it. That's kind of on you at a certain point. But she said she flew from New York to Los Angeles 3 times on her own dime for separate auditions and separate tapings for Wings of Voice, which was filmed on an HBO soundstage in Hollywood. She said that she spent $5,500 on travel, lodging, and hair and makeup for her 3 trips to L.A., and as a vocal teacher in New York, she lost out on nearly $4,000 in canceled lessons. Okay.
So that's how she gets to the $10,000.
Yeah, $9,500, close to $10,000. But listen, if I go to Jim McClure and I go, hey, I know I got to do this radio show you're paying me for. Can you pause my payments because I got this dream? And he goes, okay, we can do that. And then
sure, no problem.
2 weeks later, I'm like, one more time. And then another 2. Like, I do it 3 times in a row. At some point, he's got to be like, what are you talking about?
Well, no, I don't necessarily think that's crazy. Like, if you're in a singing competition, like, they take weeks and weeks and weeks.
But you're flying yourself out there every single time?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, Idol doesn't fly people in at a lower level.
Especially for the audition
when you're still
stage.
going through the audition stages, yeah. It's like, we'd love to have you back if you can make it.
But I also don't think that there's anything more... Like, I don't necessarily think you have a better chance of becoming a pop star flying in over and over again for American Idol than you do flying in over and over again for Wings of Voice.
No, I don't think so either.
You know what I mean? Like that, and it's almost, that's the whole point of this, is that this is so absurd that it's exactly the same as any of these reality shows.
Right,
Like,
but people who want to be famous are just going to keep doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
She'd be telling the exact same story, though, if American Idol had her do it.
Yes.
So I'm not 100% on why Wings of Voice is misleading, because it wasn't actually a singing competition.
That's why.
Yeah.
What? But it was.
I mean, technically, I guess you could say.
It was. I mean, there was a select group of people, and she was in this group. She said she was first contacted about Wings of Voice in summer 2024, which means a year ago.
By the way, this is what I love so much about anything that Nathan does, is that when this comes out, people go back and they find things. And there's Reddit threads on like singing competition subreddits talking about this audition.
I love that this NDA was broken.
Yeah.
Because no part of me is going like, oh, Nathan, he's a bad guy. This is actually going like, oh my God. Okay, so finally we're getting like the slightest peek behind the curtain to how any of this absolute insanity can possibly happen. Because when you watch this show, it doesn't make any sense. So she said production held her in a waiting room during the first audition for 3 to 4 hours and then told her to perform Old MacDonald Had a Farm or Yankee Doodle. Which, like, okay, right there. Aren't your antenna going up a little bit? Isn't it a little bit of a red flag that it's like, these are the only 2 songs? Like, we're a singing competition show, but we haven't cleared any music rights whatsoever?
You're there, so it's like, what are you going to do? Say no and go home?
But then 2 weeks later, you're going to go like, oh, no, I'm going to fly back for it? Maybe I'll get to sing, I don't know, the national anthem? Before she could belt out her chosen children's lullaby, so she went for Old MacDonald. She was sent home without explanation. And then she flew back to New York and about a month later received an email congratulating her on making it to the second round.
Yeah, congrats.
Which, honestly, I'm sure that's how they work. She got paid for that.
She got paid for it.
Well, when she flew back, she got, for the third taping, it was a SAG-AFTRA contract. So she was paid $12.50 for the third taping.
All right, so she got something.
She got something, which included 10 hours of rehearsal and 1 day of filming. Dude, you watched the show.
Yeah.
You saw what this ended up being.
Oh, yeah.
10 hours of rehearsal for it.
For that one.
But, like, I love that. I love that. I would love to have a show one day where I had a crew, and I'm like, you guys need to work with this group for 10 hours for the 30-second bit that I have. It's going to be funny. Like, you just have to do it. Okay, we just do it, and then they do it. You know?
I think about that a lot. Like when I see like I'm watching the new season of Conan O'Brien Must Go.
Yeah.
And there's parts of it where he's like in elaborate costumes, and like it's hair and makeup and prosthetics, and it's 10 seconds.
Right. Or, by the way,
And that took hours.
I'm sure there are many scenes like that where they finish it and they just go, you know what, fuck it.
Yep.
And I love that. I love
So
that.
do I.
It's how you actually get to quality stuff when you like take ego out of it. Well, we filmed it. We have to show it. No, you don't.
But we spend so much time on
Who cares? Throw it in the garbage. It didn't work. Okay. Film something else. She says in addition to, with additional group of contestants, they were fitted for costumes and told to stand on stage for hours lip syncing. Love says they were paid background rates of $180.
That's good.
She said the day before her final taping, she put the pieces together. She did not. I don't think she did.
No, she did. Keep reading.
Well, I did. I've read it.
You think she's lying at this point?
I don't think I think a lot of times people go, I knew at the end. I could tell when they didn't really know. I think, or she got these facts, but she kept lying to herself.
Yeah.
Yes. Like the Williams.
Right. I believe that she got these facts, but I don't think she went, you know what? This is probably a prank.
She wanted to keep believing.
She kept believing.
Because
it. That's what I think.
Not me.
Right.
I'm
because,
too smart for this.
Exactly right. Because here's what happened. Yeah, because it says here she started noticing cracks in the facade, which really strikes me as when you convince somebody to wear khakis to work and they go, but here's the fatal flaw. And it's like, no, dude, you're wearing khakis. There was no fatal flaw.
No, you did that.
Yeah. So she Googled a few of the crew members and found one thing they had in common. They each had worked for Nathan Fielder's previous projects. Love wasn't familiar with Fielder, nor had she seen nor interacted with him on set, but she had heard his name whispered around among the crew. Don't let Nathan find out. Nathan's coming.
Yeah, I don't buy that part.
No. She wants to make Nathan seem like a bad, like
a villain.
Yeah. Which I'm sure Nathan thinks is great.
Also, you don't know who Nathan is? That's a red flag.
That's a red flag too. Yeah. Who's Nathan Fielder? It's like
Get the fuck out of here.
okay. Next thing you're gonna tell me you don't know who Tim Robinson
Yeah,
is.
we don't have anything to talk about.
No. She began reading about the rehearsal and Fielder's previous show, Nathan For You, realizing he was an expert at devising large-scale comedic set pieces. Case in point, another contestant recognized the Alligator Lounge, a real bar in Brooklyn that Fielder replicated for the first season of the rehearsal and then kept in the airport soundstage in season 2. Which that is true.
That is true.
Because he brought the bar, he recreated a bar from season 1, and he liked it so much that he brought it into the airport for season 2, which you just love that, like.
So that all the pilots had a place to drink.
Right. And like when they on the show, when like they want to like have Nathan talking to people on the show, it happens in the bar from season 1. But also, they didn't destroy the set. Like they kept it. It's been years. They kept it on the soundstage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you they keep the airport for season 3.
I bet they do, because that's funny. And then
I believe that. I believe somebody could have been like, I know that bar. I watched the rehearsal.
Oh, yeah. I believe that 100%. Because people who watch the rehearsal go to that bar in Brooklyn. Yeah. So then this happens. This is like they said at the beginning of like, I don't know, episode 5 or something like that. This is where Nathan said
4, I think.
Episode 4?
I think we just watched 5.
Okay. Nathan said, I didn't really have much use for the show anymore. So, but I did promise everybody that they could perform on HBO. So I let them do this medley of Amazing Grace. I mean, they brought in LEDs. They brought in all this stuff, smoke machines, and Nathan's just like, whatever, dude. I don't know about this.
I have no use for this anymore.
So, yeah, so now all is exposed, and Nathan Fielder just continues to do his show as he was doing it before.